Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about support tier list for Hector. So I'm on the staging server at the moment just because I've tested a couple of things out today. But yes, we're going to dive straight in. As you can see already on the screen, I've already put out what I believe this tier list is sort of going to be in Hector. So there's a couple of things on here that probably most people are expecting. The S plus tier is pretty standard, with the Icicle and Enigmatic being the two strongest, the strongest Arcane staff by a mile, as well as the strongest Frost staff, especially with these new slow changes, with the diminishing returns being removed off slows. Again, I think both of these are going to be played with plate. I think that's going to be the pretty standard setup for most of these, not all, but most of these weapons. Is sort of a plate utility setup, probably the Druid Cowl, as this looks like it's going to be a very mana intense meta. With probably the Knight's Armour for the Wind Wall. I'd like to start seeing Guardian Armour maybe swapped onto the tanks then, but see what happens. They might just opt to run with the double wind wall. Certainly with the new Hellgates, double wind wall is going to be pretty fantastic, and double wind wall is strong in GVGs anyway. Basically anywhere that's choke fighting, wind walls are amazing, and both of them now suit really well to it. As you can see in the S tier, Glacial Staff. Now everyone's written off Glacial Staff for a long time. People just don't like it, people don't use it. I have a feeling that Glacial Staff in the right hands could be very strong. It could be a tool for pushing chokes. Like I said, this whole meta is going to be about pushing chokes in my opinion. You've got Hellgates, which there are just so many tight spaces, so many places to play around. You've got GVGs, which naturally are very like choke fighting anyway. I don't think it's going to be quite as strong as Icicle, in that Icicle is just flat. It's there, it's done, everything's AoE, and it's slowed up. However, Glacial, you can push chokes with this, you can use it as a defensive tool. I was actually trying this out, that's why I'm on the staging server now. In that I can root someone in Glacial, I can literally get 100% slow on them with Glacial, with the Glacial stacked up to 3 times, as well as a Frost Beam. It actually roots them in place. And that's an AoE route as well. As long as like it's an AoE route around the Frost Beam, that could be really strong. Again, like I said, if used in the right hands, I think the slow is just going to be insane. Just to show you what Glacial does at the moment, because most people, like I said, have completely ignored this stuff for a good length of time now. Creates an ice storm area which moves slowly away from the caster. Enemies caught in the ice storm take damage every second, are slowed by 30%. Stacks up to 3 times. That is 90% slow with no diminishing returns as long as they're in there for 3 seconds. I get that's going to be potentially hard to do, to get them in there for that length of time. But when you've got that, you've got Frostbolt, you've got Frost Beam or Bomb, either one, like you can really make sure that they're rooted in that place. As I said, I think a good sort of Glacial Staff user, if you put this down in a choke and then wind wall the choke so they have to sort of just run away, you can really control a fight with this potentially, and that's what a support is there to do. We're then moving on to the A tier. You've got the Demonic. Again, I think Demonic played with either the Mercenary Jacket, do a little bit higher damage but still going to be self-sustaining, so not really too much of a drama for the team. Or again, going back to the plate setup, having that wind wall, having the demonic healing reduction, I think it's another zoning tool, it's another crowd control effectively, in that people just have to either get out or really suffer in that. You can set up kills around demonic. With the cursed curse armor pierce changes, we can just have a look at these now. So tier 8 demonic staff does a lot less armor pierce. I believe that's up around the 80, the minus 80 on each. On live, it's only 52, however that's 243 damage, so it's going to be doing a lot more base damage anyway. So you're still going to have the shred there potentially. I just think Demonic is a potential for a support weapon. It has been done before, so this wouldn't be an unusual thing. Excuse me. It definitely could be something viable. Would be interesting to play around with. I've played around with it myself, and really enjoyed it, just because you can make plays with it. However, our team was built around sort of shredding and debuffing as much as we could. Great Arcane. Now most people, again, most of the other Arcane staffs people have just ignored. Great Arcane we'll have a look at now. The important thing here is obviously the E, the magic sphere. Creates a magical sphere and an ally for 7 seconds, increasing magic resist by 191 for up to 5 allies in a 5-meter radius. Enemies in the sphere lose 9 energy every half second and will be revealed from invis. So Assassin Jackets is something we see a lot on frontliners at the moment. Assassin Jacket with the Inferno Shield. We don't tend to see too many ambushes in Hellgates or GVGs, which is a bit of a shame. It kind of removes that functionality from this. However, you can cast this on an ally, so you can cast this on a frontliner. This means all of your frontliners, if they're stacked, are going to be very, very tanky from magic. And if you can get onto like a healer, just the energy drain you could have from this and the energy beam, you could rip apart a team doing it like this. That's 18 energy every second. I think that's really, really strong, especially, like I said, with the energy beam. You could really cause some trouble with this. I really, really like this stuff. Again, I don't think it's going to be massively broken, but I think for a comp that's built around sustaining and just, like I said, energy draining the enemy team, this could be amazingly strong. Arcane then. Again, another one that's kind of not been used ever. I'm not sure about this. This is one of the weird ones for me. I'm not sure if this would be A or B tier. Obviously, just to go through the tier sort of system a second, S plus is something that I think is just broken stupid. It's really, really strong. S is something that's powerful. A is sort of average. B is either quite unsure or just not not strong. It can be used, but I don't think it's the strongest. Arcane, I haven't really managed to test it too much. I'm not really sure how strong it is in the grand scheme of things. When it hits an enemy, it'll explode in a 7-meter radius and knock all enemies back 21.37 meters, dealing 109 magic damage. Potentially this, with a wind wall, you can knock back a team as they're pushing up a choke. Wind wall the choke, silences the whole team. You can silence a whole team for 6 seconds, potentially, if they're trying to push up a choke. Even if you hit 2 people with this, you're going to knock them away. They aren't going to be able to gap close because they're silenced. They're not going to be able to top themselves up. I think this has the potential, if used in the right hands, this has the potential to be very strong. And lastly, we then have the Witchwork Staff. Again, this is a bit of a weird one for me because I wanted to put this in the S tier. I spoke to a couple of other people and they said, no, don't. It's not an S tier weapon. My logic was, as they push up a choke, you can witchwork the choke, or you can black hole the choke, and that's gonna sort of drag them in together. That allows for some AoE AoE cleave comps to just go nuts. However, I just think that I do agree that what people were saying, there's a lot of outplay to that. If you run up and see that, you just run back, and you're pretty much fine. But again, if you use this at the right time, again, that key sort of saying, in the right hands, I think Witchwork could be really, really strong. In the B tier then, we have the Hoarfrost Staff. I think if you're going to use the Hoarfrost Staff, do not use it with plate. I don't like it with plate. You don't really do much. You only do something every sort of 20 odd seconds, and it's so hit or miss that it's just not worth risking not being able to do anything else if you don't land it. And it's something that's quite easy to dodge as well. So yeah, it's good, but if you're going to use it, use cloth. Cursed Skull. Cursed Skull's a weird one, but I had someone else argue the case to me that Cursed Skull could be potentially a really, really strong support weapon. Cursed Skull, let's actually have a look here. Cursed Skull has a really, really high amount of base damage as well as max health shred, which means higher health targets, more tanky targets are still going to take a high amount of damage from this, and you don't need the best gear in the world to be doing this, or the cloth gear to be doing this, because ultimately it is really, really strong, and it has high base damage. The channel on it is quite powerful in itself because you become CC immune. I think this could be really, really good with like a wind wall or a guardian armor. I can imagine this with a guardian armor. You just jump into their team with a guardian popped already. You're going to stop all them from doing damage. You're going to be putting out a crazy amount of damage, and if you have any sort of, I think this paired with another, maybe don't run a tank, but run like an icicle or a glacial with a Cursed Skull running like double plate, I think that could be really, really strong. That's just me, but I think there's a potential with a Curse Girl support build. I'm already working on it at the moment on live. I'm hoping to get a couple of games with it because it seems really, really fun. I have played it, like I said, with that Guardian setup, and it's just crazy, crazy fun. If you have we had a tank that jumped in, rooted them. I then jumped in with this, with the Guardian popped already, and like I said, they just couldn't get out of it. They did no damage, and they took an absolute truckload. And then we have the Occult Staff, the Occult Arcane Staff, the Hell Artifact. I don't know if I like this in any way, truthfully. Like, it hasn't been buffed or changed in any way, and it's completely out of the meta already. It's a potential there if you want to play around it, but I just can't see this being particularly strong in any situation, really. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you like the support list, support tier list. There is more tier lists coming out. I'm going to do a melee DPS one, a range DPS one, a healer one, and a tank one, all before Hector, hopefully. So keep tuned, like, comment, subscribe, and catch you later, guys. Goodbye.